All right. What up? Thank you. Welcome, all ladies and gentlemen. Hope you can all hear me. We are live back again on the Greyhorn Pagans Podcast. I am just waiting for Thane and Josh at the moment. He should be here shortly. But yeah, welcome back. Welcome all. This is a very, or will be, or is, if you're listening or watching when this has already been recorded. So that's kind of meta, if you will. And yes, I am really fucking shiny. I know. Sorry, haven't done my makeup. As I said, this will be a very interesting show. This will be a very interesting podcast because Josh and myself, we will discuss the one question, the major question that a lot of us in the Greyhorn Pagans for literal years now have been asking, have been wondering, since we do want to return to our ancestral roots. Hold up. So yeah, since we do want to go back to our ancestral roots, how exactly do we do that? Like, how do we do that in the 21st century? Because as we all know, the days of the Viking raids and, having a farm or a homestead and no government interference or a very little government interference are over. Sorry to burst your bubble. They've been over for, we're 2024. Let's do some math. I want to say at the very least, 500 years. No, let's say a little less. Let's say 300. The Industrial Revolution. When was the Industrial Revolution? I feel like looking that up. But yeah, like we really can't do the things that we did back then, back in the days of our ancestors. We can't just go out and hunt because now you need a license for it. Government interference. In some countries, in some places, you even need a license to fish. So even that is, getting harder. To be a farmer, we've all seen what happened or what is happening in the Netherlands and Canada with the farmers. It's not the best time to be a farmer right now. Although, if you want to be self-sufficient, having a farm or having access to a farm or farm shop at the very least is incredibly beneficial, and I can highly recommend. But yeah, like that's all. I just looked it up. The Industrial Revolution was about 1760, so we're like 250, close to 300 years since then. So let's say like anything before that, like it was still okay to hunt and fish and farm and whatever. And yeah, there was government interference, but not as much. So how do we do that now with government interference? And here to help me answer those important questions, help us answer those important questions, is the Tribal Thane himself, Mr. J. Ash Odinson. What up, bro?
What's up, brother? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I have no idea why the background now proved all of a sudden. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. I can hear you. It's just the background disappeared for some reason.
Is that
Oh,
loud?
shit. That's a decent mic, brother.
All right. Yeah, it's responsive. You can hear it. All right, good. That's all.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna have to edit like the scratchy part out for the audio one. But that's perfectly fine.
What's it?
Just testing the mic.
What's it called? Like ASMR videos or something? Come on. People like sound, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Shit. ASMR.
There's another cultural backfire.
I mean, that's been a thing for ages. Like anything can be ASMR, really. You know, we all have those like softer things that we're just like, oh yes, please. But oh god, like the mother of my children used to be really into that, and she'd have me listen in every once in a while. The whole like whispery stuff, I can't
get
do
it
that
in person. I get it in person, right?
for
and my
sure.
wife does it to me, and it drives me berserk, and she knows that, right?
Yeah.
But like over a digital device, I'm just whatever, right? To each his own, right?
In the mic or whatever. And it's like, no, fucking stop it.
Yes, exactly. So,
Yeah.
anyways, we have
Got off on a tangent right away.
We have come to a weird point in society and culture, and let's just start with that and figure out how the F we got here, right? Let's
sure. Let's dive deep right away.
So we were we've been kind of like texting back and forth all day on different things, right? And yeah. I noticed a lot of things in every like Scandinavian, Germanic, English, all these cultures, they all go back to the royal families, the first writings of them saying they came from Odin and they worshipped a dead king. And it is like absolutely hilarious to me. I sent you a couple of those that were like highlighted, but that's like right from Britannica at the links and sources. If you just type in Germanic tradition, there's like a Britannica page with all kinds of great links on it. Don't like what they have to say themselves, but they're a very like Wikipedia, it's very useful for certain things. If you just need 101 information, you have to like filter out your own bias from it. But there's usually good sources on there. So at least a good point to jump off from.
So let me go ahead and share the first one that you shared with us. Really, let's see if I can. Okay, that should be opened, right? There. Let's see this one. I hope it comes through all right.
Yeah, there were four of them, and they were highlighted. I can see them, but they're small. Yes, they're there. If you just click on one of them and blow it up, it would quite well.
So can you see it all right like this, or
you have to click on the independent message because it's still a bit.
Hold up, just keep talking. I'll download them and open them in independent screens.
Yeah, I like I said with the computer, I intended on being able to do this, but like for some reason, always at the last minute, we get these really fun technical difficulties that just go poing. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Man. Yeah, I used vulgar terms earlier today talking about Windows Update that I normally don't apply to anything, dude. Like,
it's Windows. It's okay to be vulgar.
I suppose. I certainly was. So I hope it was.
The creator doesn't like us. So, why should we like the product?
So we were talking, all right, while you're getting into that, we were talking earlier too about the differences just between like Netherlands and Germany and different cultural traditions nowadays, right? And just different cultural norms, right? Like that they say the public transportation, right? In Germany, it's like people keep to themselves. In the Netherlands, everybody's just doing their own thing.
Yeah,
right?
where like I've had that a million and one times. Like you'll hear people calling on the phone, like either quite loud or actually kind of respectful. When the wifey calls, like doesn't matter, I'll answer. Train, bus, doesn't matter, I'll answer. God,
Oh yeah,
I need to get some better shit, man.
but I dig it. I mean,
yeah, no, but that's really the difference. And indeed, the public transport chip card that we have here in the Netherlands, or now it's even is being phased out, and then you can like just check in and check out with your bank card. So, I mean, like from a practical standpoint, I get it. No, you don't need 1,000,001 freaking cards anymore.
Yeah, they're cutting out the middleman. If the idea is to exchange cash, why have another mediary in the middle? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I have noticed that I mean, I haven't been to Germany a whole lot, but I know of the cultural differences. I know that if you're there without cash, it's good luck. They'll have a pin machine, they'll have like a card machine, but they prefer you to have cash. They were actually, I know that the Aldi and little supermarkets, who are German of origin, they were actually the very last ones to phase out the 1 and 2 cent coins, like euro cent coins, because we used to have those back when the euro first got introduced. But as with the back in the days of the guilders as well, it would cost more to produce the coin than the coin's actual value. So they slowly phased it out. But like at the Aldi or little supermarkets, if something was, let's say, $9.98, you pay with 10, like expect no cash back whatsoever, because like $9.98, it's fucking practically 10. But no, you get 2 cents. Like you get your 2 cents. And you're just like, okay, cool, but I can't pay with this anywhere but here. So even the German supermarkets, like in the Netherlands and wherever else they might be, like I believe Aldi is a global brand at this point. Like even there, they still have some kind of German customs, practical, fast, no nonsense. I see that on TikTok a lot as well. The differences between like American supermarkets and German supermarkets. I have noticed that as well. When visiting the wifey, it's like in the US, it's like, oh, did you find everything? How's your day been? Small talk. And in Germany and kind of the Netherlands as well, but more so Germany, is just, scan your groceries, pay, go.
Just get out. Yeah.
Quick and efficient.
No, see, we have something here that's called like the People of Walmart series on YouTube for a reason. And I mean, if you've ever seen that portion of our culture, we're not very proud of it, but it exists. It certainly exists.
It's a fun meme for us Europeans.
Yes, I would suppose. Listen, I live in the dong of America, dude. So I get the Florida man jokes all the time, right? Like it's Florida man, Florida this, Florida that. Like within the last week, our ocean killed like 5 tourists, right? Just going to the beach and swimming, because we have rip currents that are like wicked. You know what I mean? And yeah. I've been diving and swimming in them since I was like 6 years old, 5 years old, somewhere in there. Anyways, it's rough, but if you know what you're doing, you can't try to swim straight at the shore because it's pulling you straight out faster than a person can swim. You have to swim diagonally, and pretty soon the channel that's pulling the rip current is only 20 to 80 feet wide. So if you swim diagonally, eventually you'll get outside of it and you'll be able to swim to the shore. Well, most people just aim straight for the shore and struggle until they literally drown. and it happened to two separate groups. A set of parents drowned in front of their kids, and then another group of tourists, like 3 of them, came down to Panama City Beach. They jumped. Literally, the first thing they did was get out of their car, run straight up to the water, go swimming, and die.
That's the shortest fucking holiday ever.
I hate to say it so bluntly, but like that's literally how they described what happened. They were so excited to be there that they literally drove straight to Panama City, got out of the car, ran to the beach, jumped in the water, and a rip current caught them.
Oh, that's messed up, man.
Extremely. So
I should have the files that you were looking for. I hope this looks better. Yeah.
That is it, right? Now we see in like the Venerable Bede, Tacitus, Caesar, right? Especially writing about like the Celts, the pagans, and the Germanic people. Caesar, not so much. He just had very vague references, but like a lot of them say that like they all had a very homogenous belief in the same gods, right? And
yeah, we used to, yeah.
We're going back to like year 0 to 1000 BC, right?
Yeah.
So it was a very homogenous area. And he said by the assumption of looking at the similarity of the people there, they were all like a brown-eyed, blondish-haired, big, bulky people, right? Yeah. And he of course, he stereotyping racially like a prick, but whatever, that wouldn't be acceptable today, but Caesar could do it back then. Anyhow, he assessed that under his expert opinion, those people had been homogenous there for about 2,000 years or better. Now, we know from archaeological record, the same biological group of people have existed there for a very epic long time. There were migrations in and out, but there was always a very homogenous group that stayed in the area we now call Germany, right? And the Netherlands, because like just both sides of the Rhine River, it was all the same peoples.
Yeah, pretty much.
Genetically, it was the same people. They were very different tribally, but genetically, they were the same people. But as different as their tribal structures were, they all literally had the same pantheon of gods. Now, each tribe might have one particular god. Now, this leads me to the point where all these slides come in. We get to like English royalty, Dutch royalty, basically all of Scandinavia. They all worshipped a dead king that they descended from, right? This one. In the 9th century runic poem, an old tradition about the god Ing has clearly been retained. Woden, Odin, is also mentioned repeatedly in Old English sources. He's frequently named among the ancestors of the royal houses, right? And
I believe the Swedish royal family still has the strongest claims of their ancestry actually going back to Odin or Woden.
England also has a pretty strong one, and so does France, dude. Well, did France got? Well, no, they still have. All right, they still have a partial one.
Sure. I mean, but England, France, Germany, like those are the European powerhouses of like at least of Western Europe.
Right. Now, how do all historians track how history spreads and how culture spreads? One of the main sources is through language, right? Looking at the spread of a particular tongue or language, right? Now, Old Norse and Old English, similar, right? I mean, Indo-European root, both of them, Old Germanic, Indo-European root.
Yeah.
But they could you could communicate between Old Norse and Old English and understand each other fairly well, right? I mean, you wouldn't be completely out of the ballpark with it.
No, definitely not. I believe that's still the same thing with Old English and Frisian. Like those languages are so like still so closely related and closely like similar sounding to each other that without too much effort, someone speaking Frisian and someone still being able to speak like the old English, let's say, the true Anglo-Saxon English, they can understand each other. There is a video up on YouTube. I will look that up later and put it in the description box down below, or like paste it at the end of this video when I edited it. But that someone actually tries that. Someone who speaks the Old English goes to Frisia, finds a like very typical Frisian farmer who doesn't have any contact with the outside world, starts speaking in Old English, and the farmer like he's kind of like, okay, I can like sort of understand what you're saying, but what are you getting at? But
let me just paint this picture for you now, right? We see those different branches come off from right there, from like the Germanic and Indo-European, right?
Yeah.
So if they all descended from a king, his sons spread out from an area, let's say at an event like Ragnarok in the Dark Ages, right?
For example.
Perfect timing too, right? Anyways, they would be there, you know what I mean? Or even like, let's say even it was like post Julius Caesar and in year 0 and all of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you know what I mean? That would have put it at the Dark Ages, right? Or you have tales in many of them where these people lived to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 years old, right? Was there a king that lived that old that had sons that lived to be, almost as old as him, and then they had sons and they became kings everywhere, right? Now,
very plausible.
Where it funnels back to that root, right? The religious root, where their claim that their ancestry comes from, you can follow it right back to the linguistic root, right? And it puts them right around the Netherlands and Germania. And you can pretty much dictate that Odin was speaking a language that would have been like Indo-European, right? The root Indo-European, right? Or Germanic or Celtic, right? Or maybe all three of them. You know what I mean? So you have this possibility. Now we still don't know for certain. We don't know what language they spoke, what country he came from. Some people say that he was from Sweden, some say from Norway, some say from, you know what I mean? Germany. So it's like all over the map. I think there's a lot of pride and bias in it. You know what I mean? With each country, each nation having some claim to that.
I mean, yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't you say, or like, why wouldn't you claim that you're, descendant of such a great king or a great god now as Woden?
Right.
Like, hell yeah, you're going to claim that.
Now, see, that's what there was a bottleneck in humanity, and we know that. Geneticists can look back in our history and see that at one point there was somewhere between 12 and 40 people, right? Now, imagine if there was more than 12, right? But they were spread out a little. Let's say there was like 36, right? And there's 12 in this area, 12 in this area, and 12 in this area. And all of a sudden, these people become this national group, and they start to spread out, and eventually they meet up again, right? We know from history that at one point Neanderthal met modern man at the points where Africa and Western Europe meet, and at the points where Africa and like Eastern Europe, the Mediterranean, and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we basically see two intermingling points, and then in Germany we know that there was a lot of Neanderthals, Neander Valley. That's where the first skeletons were found. Blase. And they kind of migrated down, met modern man. They retracted, right? And then we see that was about 70,000 years ago. Then about 40 to 50,000 years ago, we see another explosion where they came back together again. Now, what's changing at that point in time? It's receding from the last ice age when they met the first time, and then they retracted. And then another ice age starts to happen, right? So they come and they meet again. Now, we have story after story. Like, let's do our Native American spoken histories, right? European histories. Things were about to happen bad to people. Somebody came to them, an angel, the moon-eyed people, or the ant people, right? And they said, basically, you have to do this and your people will survive. But you have to get up into this cliffside and dig a hole, build a cave dwelling, you know what I mean? Bring these animals and this much food. And they gave them like literal ways to survive a coming shitstorm, right? But we see
kind of sounds like the Noah's Ark tale as well, where
precisely
the perceived higher power tells someone else, let's go with the story of Noah, where when God tells Noah, build an ark, get these animals, male, female, so like at least one of each, so that the species survive. Sounds a lot like what happens on all those other continents. Some perceived higher power comes there, knows what is about to happen, and tells them, hey, in order to survive, you and your species and your native animals that you revere so much, do this, go there, because that will make sure that at least your lineage, if you listen to me, that at least your lineage will live on.
And it's a tale as old as time, dude. It's in almost every culture. There's some kind of flood or destruction myth. Now, if you look at different areas too, there's flood myths in some areas. They're coastal. I mean, that's obvious. Then from other areas, you have glacial intrusion myths, right? Where you have literal ice walls forming, bridges of ice, you know what I mean? Giants crossing bridges into the area and they're eating people. Okay, you have like tales of large beings coming down here and violating mankind in multiple different ways also in almost every one of these cultures.
To modern man, to what we know now as modern man, Neanderthals would have looked huge.
Yes.
They would have looked huge. I mean, I can totally imagine that, they could be perceived as some sort of a giant or a giant humanoid of some kind.
Even if they weren't tall, they were anatomically about the same height as modern man. So we think. We don't know what groups were coexisting at the time. And there was also Denisovans.
Was a lot bigger. Their frame was a lot heavier.
Right. Now there was also Denisovans, and we have very, very little genetic record of their skeletons because every time one appears, the Smithsonian gets it and it fucking vanishes, right? Magically gets lost in their archives, right?
It's so weird. The Smithsonian should look into that.
You'd think, right?
Shit keeps missing. It's so weird.
They get paid a lot to keep losing shit. I'm just saying. We could lose shit for half of that price, bro. If they just want to let me hold on to it or some shit.
Dude, I lose shit for free all the time. The only thing is, it's my own shit.
I'd be willing to do it for like $50. I know they're getting millions, dude. I'm telling you.
Getting paid to lose stuff. Hell yeah.
It's absurd. Anyways, this common thread though, it is in all of these same cultures, right? Yeah. All these same cultures that have these tales have the same tales of giants. And I mean, it breaks right down into Christianity too, right? Because I mean, in Christianity, you had the Nephilim came down here, bred with mankind. You know what I mean? It's
well, no, I believe the Nephilim were the
first generation,
the offspring of the fallen angels who got into the women.
Some refer to them as the Watchers, and some say they were born from the Watchers. So it's confusing.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think the insinuation though is the original fallen angels weren't supposed to interact with man, but they did just with the women, and then they kind of like impregnated some of them, and then those children became like the heroes of old. Right, and that's kind of how the Christian Bible explains it.
So, like their children, or like their children's children, maybe like another generation down the line, would be the demigods. Heroes like Hercules, for example.
Samson, all of it.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, sure.
And there's, like I said, that's just the most common one that most people would catch the reference to. But we know from Norse and Germanic mythology, dude, our gods were giants, right? I mean, in one point it says Odin placed 2 humans in a tree. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to be able to place 2 grown humans in the damn tree to keep them safe from things.
But like actually put them in a tree like that's requires some magic and some friggin' strength.
We think about Neanderthal strength, right? Now they had 3 times the muscular density and bone density of humans, right? So their muscles had like 3 times the snap. They would have been the equivalent to a human gorilla, right?
Woof.
Yes. So, I mean, it's kind of absurd to think that they coexisted alongside humans. They had music. When we first met them, like that's probably what attracted us to try to communicate with them, is the modern humans with Neanderthal, is that they saw that they had music and structure, and they were hunting things that humans just would never have approached in the first place. You know what I mean? These guys are taking down cave bears. These guys are taking down giant predatory cats, and they're watching it go down. So the humans would have been like seriously revering them.
Yeah, so I looked it up real quick. Some of the key points, some of the key differences is that they had shorter limbs, which makes sense if they would live in a cold climate. You know, the more body you have, the more
torso, less limb
you lose. Yeah, they were more robust and stocky, with more pronounced facial fronts and a longer head, and a higher proportion of fast twitch muscle fibers, which may have been an adaptation for sprinting rather than endurance activity. So they would probably look like some high level power lifter, or like high level like sprint athletes, just, you know, big, stocky, fast.
And that's your average Neanderthal. Now the average Neanderthal was about the height of man, right?
A little shorter, I believe, but just about.
Well, just because they had shorter limbs doesn't mean they were shorter in stature, because torso is also a big factor, right? And
so this is just according to the search engine that I'm using at the moment. Males were, and this is on average. Of course, you have outliers here and there, but they were on average between 5'5" or 164 centimeters to 5'7" or 169 centimeters. Now, so
just think about this:
average, let's say, European women of today.
Today, though, 70,000 years ago, bro, we were a lot shorter.
True.
Modern man was much shorter 70,000 years ago, right?
True.
Now, think about this, right? You also had the Denisovans, right? Now, but let them put them aside. See if you can find a breakdown of the Neanderthal eye, because they also had some other really weird features, right? That they basically could have seen at night. And they would have been fully capable of hunting nocturnally like our modern nocturnal predators.
Oh, that would absolutely not surprise me. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can.
It's a study that I found a while back, but it gives a detail on it, and it was like the only one that I was able to find.
Well, yeah, I can imagine for, you know, okay, so definitely larger eye sockets, which suggests they would have had better eyesight. So yeah, I can imagine, bigger eye sockets, larger eyes, more light would be able to come in, which probably would make you see a lot clearer and a lot clearer from a larger distance. I mean, like, we can still do that too, but we have to like train ourselves to be able to see clear from a distance, like fucking hyper focus. But I imagine
Now,
having bigger eyes, it would come more natural.
You allow more light in. They have a bigger opening to see, basically. But usually, a bigger eye socket also indicates something else: a much larger pupil.
Yeah.
Right now, imagine walking up to a being, and instead of them having normal eyes, they got these giant fucking pupil and cornea. Right? There's hardly no white to their eye, if any at all.
That will be a scary sight.
Now, they were anatomically similar, right? But there were anatomical differences to humans. Their bone density specifically. Now, their size, yes, they were similar, but the bone density, they would have been able to like jump and fall from heights that we could not have even fathomed, dude.
Oh, for sure.
Imagine what we see like a wild primate like a lemur do leaping now, right? A lemur that's only 1.5 feet tall can leap 6 feet off the ground easily.
I've seen my kitten do that. Like, she'll jump up on a fence, which is like close to shoulder height for me. If I try and do that, I trip and fall and probably fucking break something.
Imagine a human jumping and grabbing an 18-foot basketball goal. 18 foot, not a standard 10 foot. Like, I mean, that's just insane to think about. Right now, humans ran alongside them. Right. Mm-hmm. So we meet with them, we mingle with them. We know what they call European, Asian, and Indo-European people all have a percentage of Neanderthal DNA, right? Some of them have more Denisovan DNA, which is more associated with a Siberian group of other humans, other ancestral beings. But they primarily, there's more of their DNA in like Asia and the Pacific Islands and that area, right? Yeah. So it's a really fascinating breakdown when you follow like the genetics of all of these mixings, right? And then we look at how similar the tails from them are and the similar ties in there. And that's fed down into our culture today into such a way that like we all remember the common points, right? Like you hear the word Yule all throughout, even America, where Christmas is the primary, Christmas or winter festival holiday, right? They have always had Yuletide blessings and Yule in the Christmas songs, and there's always been a remembrance of Yule there, right? It's a seasonal calendar, it's like the solstices. That's never going to go away. It's something that our people had for so long, like north, south, east, and west being Germanic, that part of the culture and the whole. There's so many little aspects that have bled down through to today. We have to take heed in what they say when these spoken histories come up, right? Just because something wasn't written down at the time, or because we don't have a written record of it ourselves, right? We haven't found it yet, or it hasn't been written down and destroyed. Doesn't mean it never was, but we're so quick, not us personally, but like as America, right? And I know it is exceptionally bad at it just dismissing the spoken histories of people, right? Yeah. No, the Bible says the world was created 6,500 years ago, and fuck you. Pardon my French. I don't mean to do that but
it's fine.
It's the general thought of it, and Göbekli Tepe, Derinkuyu, come on, these places are much older. Like there's parts in Egypt that are much older than that. Like it just doesn't work anymore.
So then how do we I mean, like if coming up with actual facts, actual scientific proven studies and whatever, if that doesn't work to, like, I don't want to say persuade those people, but at least make them think, then how should we do it? Or should we just...
Here's my approach to it, Stein. And this, I know I shared this in the tribe before. It's not the history of it doesn't lie. The science of it doesn't lie. The archaeology of it doesn't lie. The narrative of it is a biased one, right? If you have an archaeologist that is a Christian and they are going over archaeology sites, they are going to have a Christian bent on what they're looking at. If they are Muslim, they're going to have a Muslim interpretation of what they're looking at. It just happens, right? But the evidence itself does not lie. The genetic evidence, the linguistic evidence, the art, right? The metalworking. Following the trail of metalworking from the Scythian people down into the Germanic tribes and the Celts, and then off into what we know now as England, France, Denmark, Holland, the Netherlands, Germany.
That's a funny story about like metalworkings and all. I of course yesterday did the European sword fighting workshop with my dad, which is why I'm so heavily freaking burnt, because we were in the sun for 2.5 hours at peak times. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my shoulders are absolutely on fucking fire.
Oh, yeah.
But our teacher actually told us that even most samurai swords, you know, the ones that we associate with being, you know, the best fucking swords because they were so fucking strong and whatever. The strongest ones were actually made of exported German steel or German iron and Italian. So, and I thought that was so funny. Like, go to a European battlefield, you won't find any broken swords whatsoever. Go to a Japanese samurai battlefield, broken swords all around.
You want me to break this down in a really simple way too, Stein, with the gods and Odin, right? You look north of the Rhine River and west of that area, and all of the royalty is related to Odin, basically, right? Even across the ocean into the British Isles and stuff, further west, right? Now,
it's funny actually that you mentioned the Rhine River, because Julius Caesar, that's you should pronounce it really. It's not Julius Caesar. If you really, I'm just being a stickler for pronunciations. Julius Caesar, Julius Caesar, doesn't really matter. But the Roman legionnaires actually in the Netherlands, at the very least, didn't go further than the Rhine River, mostly because it was like marshes and swamplands. And if you're from Italy, that absolutely fucking sucks. You know, it's cold, it's wet, and you're like, get me the hell out of here.
South of the Rhine, the primary god would have been Tyr, right? And we know this from documentation, right? Yeah. Mars and Tyr were commonly attributed, right, as being the same god by the Romans, at least, right? Now, the Romans came from the Etruscans. We gave the Etruscans that name. The Etruscans had a different name. The Greeks called them the Tyrrhenian people for thousands of years before the Romans we called them the Etruscans, right? The Tyrrhenian Sea on that side of Italy was named for the Etruscan people. They called themselves the Tersenians, meaning the sons of Tyr, right? The Tyrrhenian also means the sons of Tyr, or like the sons of Tyr, right? So it's pretty telling in that, right? Now,
so with all the royal houses claiming their ancestry to like going back to Odin, or Wotan as he is known in the Germanic countries, with what most of us in the like the pagan truther circle know and have found out about the royal houses, does that still count? Like, is whoever call themselves the royals now, are they still of that lineage, or is that lineage, I don't want to say broken, but usurped?
I would say it has been in a couple of them, or it's been diluted into not existence almost.
Yeah, I mean, at least, going back a few hundred years, it would also kind of explain why so many of the royal families were so obsessed with keeping the bloodline pure, which is how you get, families like the Habsburgs, where you are your own cousin, uncle, and father somehow. Jesus,
family vines.
That was
they didn't have family. They didn't have family trees. They had family vines.
The family branch, like it was just one.
Yeah,
that
like
was
straight vine. Sometimes a little branch comes off and loops right back to it.
Yeah,
that was scary. But you have to look at things like that and think that when that level of inbreeding happens, though, you're always breeding out the best traits and keeping the worst, right?
Yeah.
In a lot of those situations, now look at what we have now in modern culture. We have a new trend of the tall, strong guy being the one that gets bred with, right? Women are looking for
the jock.
Women are looking for a rich man, and it doesn't matter what height he is, to marry, right? And they are looking, it's just a stereotype with what you see with online dating statistically, right?
Yeah.
So you see that women, when they're looking for hookups, they will look for dudes that are 6 foot and above, period. That's it. There is no exception to that rule. If you are under 6 foot, you need not apply. If they see you in person and you're an inch shorter, fuck off. So
sorry to all of our short kings, but
just saying, 5'11" and proud, whatever. It is what it is. So needless to say, my kids are all like giant anyways. Dude, my oldest son is 6'7". My son that's 14 right now is 6 foot. He's just like this much taller than me. And
oh, okay.
Yeah. And my 6-year-old, God, he's just a beast in his own right, dude. Like in A, man. Anyways, we see that throughout history that there has been like these common tales even into the royal families, right? And it's bled down in a line, right?
Yeah.
North of the Rhine, we see the tribes of Odin. South of the Rhine, we see the sons of Tyr, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you look in one of those things I shared earlier that was highlighted that you already pulled up, it says that in one of them, that in their tales, Frigg tricked Odin into favoring I want to say it's the Lombards over the Vandals.
Oh, yeah, I have seen that one. Can't find it, of course.
It should be one of the ones that I highlighted.
Yeah, it
probably. Let me make it the most recent one, and I can.
Or is that a? Oh wait, I think
that one might not be highlighted.
Yeah, no, I found it. Right. Let's see. I'll pull it up. Do I have it opened though? Yeah,
I can't remember which people's history it was though.
The origin of the nation of Lombards. Lombardia.
So that would be why the Italians, the Romans, won out over the Germanic people, because Odin was tricked into favoring the Lombards over the Vandals.
Yeah. The story shows that the divine pair, recognizable from Scandinavian sources as Odin and Frigg, which is interesting because it says Freya here.
That's it's the old spelling, and Odin did learn magic. I'm just saying that I never said it was impossible that Odin would have been boinking Freya. But I don't know because I wasn't there. So he might have learned a lot from her. Just saying.
For sure. Known from Scandinavian sources, Odin and Frigg was known to the Lombards at this early time, and we're talking the 8th, early 9th century. A rather similar story about this pair is told in a Scandinavian source, Historia Langobardorum, or in plain English, History of the Lombards. He used written sources available to him and seemed, this is interesting, seemed also to draw upon Lombard tradition in prose and verse. So even in the 8th, early 9th century, great, told you need to get better shit.
They were using stanzas.
Yeah, and it was already tradition to do so, which is early. That's early in time.
Well, dude, there's just single phrases of the Havamal that were found carved like BC, but it wasn't like a whole piece of the Havamal. It was like a literal single stanza. You know what I mean? And it would be like something carved on the back of a comb, right? Or on a headboard of a bed. But those items date back further than Gesta Danorum or Codex Regius or any of the other sources that they would have gotten it from, right? Like Codex Regius is the first whole piece of the Havamal that we found, right? Yeah. But there are older sources that had it in it. And I think the Codex Regius was dated to like 1100 or 1200.
Let me look that up real quick, because why not?
It's the word of Odin, so it's generally relevant to what we're saying.
Thought to have been written during the 1270s, so late. That's pretty late, yeah. That's
look up earliest pieces of the Havamal to see what it says, because I know there are
only discovered in 1643. Holy shit!
Mm-hmm. It was discovered after Snorri wrote the Eddas. Rediscovered, should I say?
Yeah. Let's see. Let's just go with Wikipedia, because why not? Between 900 and 1000 AD. So that's a good 250, almost 300 years before the Codex Regius.
Now, think of what was happening for almost 300 years from that time, 1000 to 700 AD, right? The Catholic Church was spreading and burning everything pagan and destroying it and getting rid of it. And if they had stuff in their house, it was getting burned. And I mean, there was literal crusades and campaigns to wipe out paganism. So any books or anything like that would have been destroyed. The only way it could have been kept at that point was word of mouth.
Yeah. Which is, as we discussed, especially in the podcast with Foxy, Druid Fox, is a very dangerous way, really, of relaying information, because unfortunately with the Druids, as soon as they got wiped out, their oral traditions were wiped out as well, which leaves us now just like pieces of a puzzle and trying to make sense of it, which we really can't because we don't know the context.
Yep, and that's the thing is like even the people weren't able to read. Now the Druids used Saxon runes that were very similar, or the Anglo runes, if you want to call them that, same difference, but they were very similar to the Nordic runes. There's a couple extra. I think there's like 28 letters in or something.
It's even pretty much pronounced the same way, Futhork.
Yeah. So, I mean, their Druids used the same alphabet as the Germanic peoples.
Which it's thought they were used to write Old English / Anglo-Saxon and Old Frisian as well, going back to Frisian.
Now there's that common link that where we get that split, Old Frisia, Old Norse, Old English, right? All these three very similar things along this very, very close proximity range to each other, right?
Yeah.
Frisia's right on the coast, isn't it? Like right a hop skip from England?
No, Frisia is all the way up north. I got an example of Anglo-Saxon runes here. Yeah, that looks
very similar.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost the same. Let's see. This is a really good example. Let's see. So it's kind of blurry, but this is a example of the Futhork or the Anglo-Saxon runes. I mean, I'd say it's a little smoother, a little different, but it's practically the same.
Now they have a lowercase version of each rune also, right? Which I thought was also bizarre, right? Because I don't think even like the Norse or Germanics had something like that. But there was a conversion from the elder Futhark to the younger Futhark right at the Dark Ages, right?
Yeah.
So immediately, one whole ayet of the runes were gone. There's 24 runes, and after the Dark Ages and the new one, there was only 16, right? And the runes represented certain things, and I've never actually pulled the two up to see what the different ones were, what they represented, and like tried to depict why they would have been pulled away. Like if there was something symbolic as to why they stopped being used.
The Futhork is actually a extended version of the Elder Futhark,
Right.
used by the Anglo-Saxons, another Germanic people, from the 5th to the 11th centuries. Consists of between 26 and 33 letters. This is interesting. They actually changed it up a little so that it would accommodate the sounds of Old English.
So they gave it some more phonetic letters.
Yeah, which is
so they assigned basic sounds to each one of them, and there was more sounds made in their standard vocabulary than they had letters. So instead of using combinations, they created a couple more letters. Whereas in other ones, they just used the combination of like ing.
Change the existing ones up a little so that they would be more suitable to pronounce in Old English, Anglo-Saxon English.
See, now that's what I'm saying, right? If you take them right back to that root, right, you have Odin. So wherever that root was, dude, and I still don't know what point in time it is. I know it's somewhere between like, I want to say 1000 BC and 500 AD, right? You have that point, but it's hard to depict because so much was destroyed.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I mean, that's
no,
why tribes like ours are so important, because we're really trying to first of all find that knowledge again, find the texts again, and spread it.
Hey, just out of curiosity, I learned a fact the other day that blew my mind, right?
Mhm.
The Aboriginal Australian people, right?
Yeah.
They have a very unique culture, right? Globally, they're like literally one of the most unique people. They have a very high percentage of Denisovan and Neanderthal DNA, much higher than most other European, Asian, and other human groups.
Probably because they are still, if I remember correctly, it's been a while, but I believe that they are still more. They have more that stocky build still.
Now, I just found something very interesting. They first got to Australia 70,000 years ago. When did they say humans and Neanderthals first met?
Yeah, they migrated to Australia. This is according to Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt. At least 65,000 years ago.
We'll go with 65. Now Google when humans met Neanderthal for the first time and started hybridizing. When did human and Neanderthal first meet?
And Neanderthal. Let's see. The let's see. Additionally, research suggests that modern humans may have made it, let's call it that, with Neanderthals after migrating out of Africa. I have my doubts, and into Europe and Asia around 70,000 years ago. So
now
that timeline.
Right. You're already seeing some janky shit here, right?
Wait, so if we stick to the out of Africa theory, that was 75,000 years ago. Mm-hmm. Or 70,000 years ago.
70,000.
But
and that's a high-end estimate.
60,000, what we know is the Australian Aborigines were already there.
65. We'll say 60. We'll say 60.
That's 5,000 years to go over there, develop a whole freaking culture. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's pretty fucking short.
Correct. Now, and stay genetically homogenous. So they did not intermingle with other groups along the way, right? They stayed
traveling all the way through Asia, or Neanderthals, they had seafaring capabilities, but then still from South Africa to Australia, it's a hell of a trip.
Or not South Africa. Let's say they even left from Asia and went to Australia, right? That's still several thousand miles on a boat, dude.
Yeah, or sea levels were a lot lower there, but still that's several thousand miles. Primitive man.
Drop the sea. I even thought about that. And there's those maps where you can drop the sea level 300 feet, 500 feet, whatever you want, and see what's going to be exposed. There's no bridge, bro. It on the other side of Australia, on the opposite side, closer to like Hawaii and South America, there is another landmass, right? And it goes kind of like up towards Hawaii and then a little down towards Antarctica, right? But it's not over towards Asia so much. So
that's a lot of walking, a lot of canoeing, a lot of sailing.
Even during the last ice age, no ice bridges, right? So how did they get there? How did they get there 65,000 years ago?
Well, they were already there 65,000 years ago. They had their culture and everything already.
Exactly. They were already leaving cave drawings and stuff there. So we know they were there before that, right? We don't know how long, but we know they were there before that. If they didn't just show up the first day and go, all right, cave drawings, guys, let's get at it, right?
Yeah. Priorities. Like, okay, new lands. What do we do first? We draw.
In caves where nobody's going to see it immediately. Now, everybody get to it, right?
Like, go up that freaking mountain and go draw something.
What else do we do? Create tools like the ones we commonly use and just throw them into the caves and bury them in places so people find them. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that was an
let's
archaeology
think of
joke.
the people that'll live like hundreds of thousands of years from now. Let's think of them and not our survival, whatever.
Wouldn't that be crazy, right? Now, just imagine they were trolling us this whole time. They're like, listen, what we're gonna do is everybody that looks normal, we're gonna cremate them and then dispose of their remains in a way that nobody will ever find them. We're only gonna leave these really short, you know what I mean, our worst of the worst, and we're gonna bury them in ways that'll be preserved for a long time. So
we'll keep the short kings, troll the people living 100,000 years from now.
Right? Yeah. But I think of that joke, and then I mean, think about this seriously. How many cultures cremated their dead, and then the bones were buried in kind of shallow mounds, so they would, like, oxygen would have a easy way to get to them, and they would break down over time.
A lot of, I believe it was only till, and I can be mistaken, but I believe it was Christianity who, or the church. Let's say the church. Don't want to say, like, don't want to, the church who started with burying their dead.
It was common to cremate people and then build a mound, a cairn, or some kind of mound over it. Right. The bigger the person's reputation was, the bigger the mound in remembrance they got, right?
Yeah,
so where you had
that's an ancient practice you see all over the world. That's why the Egyptian kings are, laid to rest in the entire freaking tombs, because, God kings, they deserve a tomb, not just, boxy.
But when the people buried their dead, and this is another part of the culture that I wanted to get into in this. The funeral rites, bro. Like, the most basic part of a person's religion is their funeral rites, right? This is the part that hurts nobody else. This is the part that there should be no laws hindering it, right? Yet you can't have a funeral pyre funeral anywhere in the United States. There's one city, but only the residents can do it, and they only allow 12 per year. It's in Colorado.
Yeah, of course it's Colorado.
You have to be a town resident. Yep, you have to be a town resident, and you literally have to live in the town. They only approve them for certain people, and they do 12 per year. Why?
Sheesh.
Why is there such a strong restriction on people having an open cremation and then a funeral mound? Like,
I mean, in so many other countries, I know that I believe, for example, in at least India, that is still in practice.
Well, when people were buried in, like, old Jackson Crawford was talking about it. I know I shared a video on the tribe a while back, where he said if people were put in the ground, they were sent to hell. Like, literal. That's why they had the pyres at ground level, and then a hill was built on top of it, because they were not sent down into the realm of hell.
Oh. So, I mean, the archaeological evidence shows that Neanderthals practiced.
Can we watch other YouTube videos live on here, like, without copyright infringement? It's not music.
I think that should be possible.
All right. Jackson Crawford, Heaven and Hell. It's a fairly recent video he did with another guy from he does an etymology channel with, like, word histories.
With Word Safari for
That's the guy.
11. Okay, sounds like an interesting bloke.
In that video, about 1:30 in, start it, and then they'll get to the burying and, sending someone to hell and all of that.
Yeah, let's see. I'll do playback speed a little higher because that
usually will mess with it. Good.
Yeah, I believe that should, like, kind of circumvent the whole algorithm.
Well, we're also commenting on it live, so I mean that I know that is allowed. Even with music videos, you're supposed to be able to watch them and comment live.
YouTube algorithm works like fucking vague in that way.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
True that.
But let's see. Yeah.
Save this link, and you'll have to put it in there as a
source. That are native to English. They haven't been borrowed from Greek, Latin, Hebrew, or anything else. So you're the person to talk to about this. What do you want to start with? Hell or heaven? What's your inclination, up or down?
Yeah, let's start with heaven.
Okay.
All right. Skip the heaven part in the commercial. Jump to about a third of the way through it.
Okay. Thanks for sponsors.
This word in Old English, heaven, is not specifically a religious word, right? So in modern English, heaven has often religious connotations, or at least, spiritual, poetic connotations. But in Old English, it's just the sky. And as you've pointed out, in most languages, heaven and sky are the same word, right? Cielo doesn't have a specifically religious connotation, but then it's used of the place that's mentioned in the Bible too. What's interesting in English is that this native word for the sky, heaven, is replaced in daily life with a word from Old Norse ski, modern Icelandic ski, which is clouds. Now, how exactly clouds comes to take over as the word for sky, I couldn't exactly tell you. It's a funny thing that happens in English sometimes, is we borrow Norse words for things we already had words for, and they make them mean something slightly different. But there you have it, and it's clearly a Norse borrowing because it has a ska, and native English words have sha. It is not impossible, I was reflecting earlier, that maybe shy is actually from that same root, because you cover your face, because this ultimately is a root for covering, which cover roots are very common in words with heaven and hell. We'll get to. You cover your face when you're shy, or your face is kind of, if you're bashful, right? But I don't know. The Old Norse.
He's got worse ADHD than I do.
Shadow from the same root. I'm not sure if that ska complex is all related to covering, which I think it could be.
Yeah, so sky comes from a root that means to cover, which makes sense because the clouds cover the sky, and like you just said, this would have originally referred to clouds, and then through some semantic shift of some kind, we now use it for even the blue sky behind us that only has a few little clouds back there, as you can.
But that's I'm gonna pause it right here real quick. That's interesting that heaven, like, it just used to mean the sky. Like, just basically the sky above, the thing above our heads. And like ski, it's already kind of spelled sky, but meant clouds. That's interesting. It's fascinating. I think your connection is a little messed up, bro. But we'll keep going, see what they say.
Let's see. Okay, so the old that old word helvon, for in Old English, for instance, and in other cognates in Germanic languages, just referred to the sky. Could it also refer to more of a spiritual? Maybe spiritual isn't quite the right word, but a divine home of the gods.
Yeah, right. Because God lives on heaven, in heaven.
Right.
By the way,
and that's not just a Christian or Judeo-Christian concept that is borrowed. Was that already there in the?
I'm talking about Old English, where really all of our written sources are Christian.
Sure.
In Old Norse, it's not that clear that the gods live in the sky. They live above us, but it might be on a mountaintop. It might be more of an Olympus situation.
Sure.
It's not that clear that all skies are supposed to be in the sky.
Okay.
That sounds like that sounds true, because what we know, I believe it's more of a Olympus situation indeed, because the Yggdrasil, which is of course the tree of life. Let me message Josh real quick on Telegram, because I believe he froze, which is a shame because he always has good shit. We definitely need to do a follow-up. It seems like he's coming back to us, back from you have muted yourself, bro. And there we go with the technical difficulties. It's always a thing. Why can't we ever just do a show without technical difficulties? It's so annoying. Oh, we have sound, but no thing.
Do we?
Yeah,
Do we have sound back?
We have moving images, moving videos. So, yeah,
Okay.
welcome back
Now,
from
I'm gonna
Tech Hell.
The weirdest thing just happened too. When that whole glitch started happening, my dog, who was asleep on the bed behind me over here, all of a sudden jumped up and he's just like staring at me over in the corner, right? And I'm like, dude, what's up? He like keeps his eye on me, goes over and scratches the door to get out. I'm like, all right. As soon as I let him out, the glitch stopped and he said, I got sound. I'm like, okay, all right, here we go again.
It was the dog. Yeah. Anyway, I don't. Have you? Did you catch anything at all from what was?
Yes.
I mean, you've watched the video, obviously.
Yes. Now,
I think it's interesting that he mentions a Olympus kind of situation that they didn't necessarily live like in the clouds, but definitely above us, because you could say that the Yggdrasil it is kind of a Olympus situation, although I have heard,
now
I don't know who that
you
was,
remember
that the realms being like above and below each other is more of a Christian concept.
Elevation. Yes, it's not so much, it's elevation, right? Now think about this. In the death of Balder, he rode for 9 days on a horse to get to hell, right?
That's a trip.
So right. Now when he got to hell, he found the mound of this person who told him this, and then that's how he found out that Balder was going to die.
Yeah.
Right. I think it was Heimdall or one of them. Then they went back and told Odin, and he sent another one of them back as a messenger. And but it describes there was a journey of 9 days on a horse to get to hell, right? So if this is and he took Odin's horse, the fastest horse, right?
Yeah.
The king that all of these royals are related to, right? Now, think if you were in, let's say somewhere around like Netherlands or Germany, let's just say just north of the Rhine River, little to the west. You have to take off on a horse and make it down to what we call the necropolis now in Italy, in the Etruscan necropolis.
Let's fuck around with that a bit. Let's say we're doing it on bike. I mean, a horse would probably be a little faster, but I think
it's similar.
It would average out.
There's similar speeds there.
Sure. Now, I am so bad at this. The Rhine, which is not where I want it to be. Okay, let's say my city, my hometown of Leiden. That should be, that is above the Rhine River, barely. Is this Necropoli della
Tomb of the Blue Demon. Use that one for example because that's right above Rome. The Tomb of the Blue Demon. That you know the one I'm talking about that we've had on our podcast before, because I think that's the grave of Tyr.
Yeah. Let's see. Tomb of the Blue Demon. That's an actual thing.
it'll give you the
Tumba dai demoni azzurri. Okay.
So yeah, from Leiden to that place on a bike.
Sure. Which is, let's see, about 100 hours, 96 hours.
Okay, so if you broke that down to days, riding 12 hours a day, you've got
that's about
9 days.
That's about 8 days, 96, 12 hours. It
wearing your horse out.
Possible. Yeah. I mean, if you like ride Sleipnir, you'd probably be a little. He could do 12 hours a day.
Right. Does that make sense?
It sounds plausible.
You've got mountains, you've got different terrain to factor in. So I mean, it's in the ballpark of that time frame, right?
So let's see, like this. That's quite a fucking trip. You're going through multiple countries, all the way south through Germany, taking a bit of Austria with you, going past Switzerland.
Now, there's some people that say hell. Some people say hell is to the north.
Shit.
But I don't. I've never jived with that when they say hell is in Sweden or was it Sweden or Finland?
Yeah, the Helsinki. You know, that's the like the box saga stuff.
I don't buy that idea. I think that by the spread of the people, the technology, the metalworking, and the language, it all points to the fact that Odin was somewhere right around the Rhine River. All of his sons became the royalty in the areas around there. But down below, somehow, when that all happened, the Vandals wound up being the Lombards wound up being the ones that survived.
Apparently, hell is in Norway.
There's a lot of different speculation on that, but we don't know. We don't know, right? But now we do know there's a huge necropolis down there, and there's a demon that looks like a Jotun in it, and it's blue. Like, I'm just saying, there's a lot of things that point to Norse tradition in that blue demon tomb.
Mm-hmm. You would pass another necropolis on the way there, like right before that. There's another necropolis. Oh, this is hell. Just means flat stone. Everyone goes to hell when they die under the flat stone. Yeah.
Hole. It originates from hole or cave, but which means cave. Excuse me, not the word cave, but it HOL, right? It's the German word for cave.
No, it's Dutch too. Hole. It means a literal hole, like a hole in the ground, hole in the head. Or hole as in hollow.
So you don't put people in a hole or in hell. You put them in a mound. You elevate them.
Yeah, so you don't put them in a hole under as Castro Magic says, under a flat stone. This is so in Norway. The priests had to make it a bad thing, so they created hell. Veti, meaning hell punishment. Oh.
Now Jackson Crawford's going to get to a point where he basically says putting a person in the ground is sending them to hell. I mean, he's right in that term. No matter which way you look at it.
Shall I try and skip forward a little to where they start talking about hell?
Hopefully it won't glitch on us, but they were just getting to hell from heaven. So it was about a third or a halfway through. Jackson has a tend to wander in speech like we do. I'm going to get to a point after we get done with this video too about the culture of the modern cowboy and the modern farmer is the closest thing in our modern culture.
Yeah.
Now think about how a ranch is run. You have the rancher, right? He's got his ranch hands. Most of them live right there on the ranch. They've got their own little families, their own farms, their own little thing going on, right? So it's very similar to a little fiefdom. You know what I mean? Where you had a jarl who measured his wealth on the amount of cattle that he had, right? Yeah. And he had serfs that worked there on the farm. They were free people. They had their own homes, but they worked for him on his land, right? And some of them worked their way up and actually bought their own land, but they had the freedom to do that. But some of them, they stayed loyal and just stayed there and worked for him. They had the community and all that.
This is true as well. Even the Bible talks of the term Hades when
he gets
talking about the underworld. Yeah.
He gets into that too in the Greek of it, and how Hades is actually cast down into the lake of fire, right?
Is that right?
So, but
yeah, so this is another word for cover, right? So the Latin word conceal. So
the seal part.
The word, it is borrowed in English and among other places the word conceal.
Right.
Latin cellare, right? Mm-hmm. So that kel, which is hide. Grimm's law, cause become huz in Germanic. So hell is actually a direct cognate with those. Yeah. Hell is what's hidden. It's what's under the earth. The same root gives us hole, right? Something dug into the earth. Mm-hmm. Holster, a place where you hide your six gun. So there's a fairly good complex of words associated with something kind of hiding, something in Germanic. So there's a very, very physical conception of the afterlife in Norse myth. Right?
This isn't some spiritual place that's not in our universe.
No, when you
literally down.
When you put someone in the grave, you're putting them in hell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
he said the thing. You've muted yourself again, bro.
Now, take that literally for what he said, right? And in our comments are also caster of magic, right? That is quite literal. When you put somebody in the ground, you are sending them to hell. That is a damnation. So a pagan, to them, that is a slap in the face. They are supposed to be burnt on a pyre and then buried. Or if they're like a jarl or a very important person, they get burnt on a boat. They have a much bigger mound, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same tradition, but you don't bury them in the ground. Now in America, we're forced to either these unceremonious cremations in a metal tube where nobody's present. It's very I don't know how to word it, medical. It's very sterile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no spirituality to it. It's a horrible procedure.
No, it is. And I believe even that I believe this is more Eastern traditions though, but it absolutely wouldn't surprise me if this was the case in like our old Western traditions as well, is that you had to burn the body in order to
send it off.
Yeah, and set free the soul, because the soul is like kind of trapped in the body. So if the body dies, then you have to set the soul free because it's literally trapped in a now dead body. So by burning the body, by burning the physical dead body, you set the soul free so that it can, join with the ancestors or go to the, like, whatever afterlife you prefer.
We got a comment in the tribe. It says, a lot of the states have pretty much done away with the law, and I didn't get to see what the bottom of that was. Was that related in what we're talking to, or was that?
It kind of was, because
or was that the blades and guns we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, that was the blades and guns thing, but
now there's another part of our culture that we have always had the right to remain armed, right? And that comes from the Havamal, right? And in Danelaw, that community had like the safest people, but they had no big overlord and soldiers standing everywhere. And the English couldn't figure out why they had such a safe place and why everybody just felt so secure, but they didn't realize that every dude was deputized and carrying a sword, right?
I mean, if everyone is armed, nobody's gonna try shit.
Right. Well, you're not going to walk into a bank and think you can pull off an armed robbery when every other customer in the bank is armed.
I mean, I know my parents, when they were, I believe they were south in the United States, they like went to a gas station to fill up the rental car and whatever. We're standing in line to pay or get some snacks and whatever, and everyone there in the gas station was armed. But they said, they literally told me that they never felt safer. Because, like I said, everyone is armed, so nobody's going to try shit. Because as soon as you try and rob the gas station, within a few seconds, you have fucking 6-7 guys pointing a gun at you.
Mm-hmm. And everybody's polite. And that's the thing. Everybody there is very cordial. They're not walking around cocky because they have guns on them. You know what I mean? And that's people have the stereotype of America where it's like, fuck you, I got a gun. You know what I mean? We got the right to talk shit, and then we got the right to back it up. That's not how the First and Second Amendment work, but I mean, I understand.
Find out, bitch.
Right. I understand they're stacked as fuck around and find out. You know what I mean? So, needless to say, we do have those rights, but the tradition of the sax, the carrying of the blade, right?
Always practice sax, by the way.
And until gun technology was invented and people started carrying, instead of a blade on their side, a gun.
I mean, it's a lot faster and a lot easier. I mean, I did. That's another thing that the Mishael from the Sword Workshop that I did with my father, that he told us that people found guns and pistols and whatever. It's a whole lot easier. It's a whole lot faster. You don't have to learn as much. Just good aim, which is a lot quicker and easier than all the things you have to do with a sword.
Chisholm's Edda, right, was interpreted not too long ago, but it interprets the I think it's stanza 38 as never leave without your weapons of war, right?
Yeah.
So is it 36 or 38? It's one of those two. Never leave your front door without your spear. In some interpretations, it's spear, and some it's weapons of war.
Yeah. Let's see. Yes, 38. There is
38. I was right.
There's a lot of different translations of it. Some will indeed say
Chisholm. I tend to use Chisholm and Holmes Eddas because they have one of them is a very literal translation. And
I have Chisholm here. A man should not step 1 foot forth in the field without weapons. One cannot know when on the road when he will need his spear, which is true.
Now, never step out your front door without your weapon, right? Now, the Havamal, this was something that was also taught to boys, like when they became men, right? When they started to become, the Northmen demonstrated this more perfectly than any movie or interpretation I've ever seen before. When the dude figured he was dying and he took his son a little young and tried to bring him into it, and he drank the sacred mead and he started teaching him the Havamal with the old man in there. They were literally just reciting the Havamal from the very first stanza all the way through it. So, yeah.
Apparently, Norway also had a law for mobilization called Leidang. Each district had to muster a certain amount of men, weapons, and ships, which was used when they tried to conquer England.
Now,
So that's kind of like a draft in a way. I mean, that could be. I kind of perceive that as the older equivalent of what we nowadays would call a draft.
now Caesar said the Germanic people had very much the same tradition. They had basically the men in the village kept all the law. There was no like supreme leader over them. You know what I mean? And the tribes functioned very well. They only had a council that came together and leadership appointed by each village when a war happened. So they would like bond together at that point, and they would appoint a guy from each village or tribe who was the leader or the alpha male at that point in time, I suppose. Most capable general in war and tactician.
So they really only like if we want to go a little political, they only really had a war cabinet.
Pretty much. Society functioned in small tribal groups very easily that way because everybody has the same belief, though. When you scale it up to like a city nowadays, that doesn't work. Like the article I wrote on Substack, like I broke that down in the very beginning, right? Like you have a little town, even a small town now, where it's mostly Christians. There's 3 or 4 churches in it. Everybody agrees, right? The mayor of the town fixes this road and upgrades this school. Everybody claps and cheers, right? There's a few outliers of people that wanted this pothole fixed maybe or that one, but pretty much everybody's on the same page, right? You scale that up to a big city and you don't have the same thing. You've got 1,000 different religious groups with 1,000 different beliefs, all depending on the same mayor to respect their beliefs. And he's making laws that favor one or the other and piss the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, I worked until recently for the city of Haarlem, the municipality of Haarlem here in the Netherlands. Like sort of local law enforcement, not the police, but like definitely local law enforcement. The amount of like bureaucracy and red tape and whole departments not communicating with each other, and then like through or like because of a staff shortage, and like so, just like overall equipment just breaking down way too fast. So it was so dysfunctional. That's just a city. That's
everything,
just
everything gets lost in bureaucracy. Everything gets lost in bureaucracy. Dude, in the United States right now, we're having a problem because our presidential cabinet allotted like 50-something billion towards something, and they've not done anything with it. It's just sat there for 3 entire years, and they can't get through the red tape to actually use it. So it's like those funds are just staled sitting there now. I mean, there's so much stuff like that happens, like properties, dude. Like people die and then their houses just sit and decay, and somebody could literally move into it and start living in it and nobody would ever notice the difference, yet nobody knows it's there.
We had that, or have that sewer problem in Haarlem. I'm technically still under contract there, so I can't really speak ill. But I worked for the parking department, so having to do with like just local traffic within the city mostly. There is this one car, a blue Honda Civic, that has been abandoned for a number of years because the owner of the vehicle passed away. Has no heirs, no children, no grandchildren, or at least none that we could find.
Mm-hmm.
It has been, from what I've heard, like 2, maybe even 3 years. That car is still standing there because they have no fucking idea what to do with it. Like, that's up to the legal department to like just kind of figure out like, okay, what can we do? Because like, sure, it has to be towed. We know that. But who's going to pick up the bill?
Now,
how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that in the most efficient
I can tell you
way?
I can tell you what a small town would do right now, because I lived and worked at a tow company in a small town, right? The small town will immediately tow it. It goes back to a tow yard. It sits at the tow yard for more than 6 weeks and nobody claims it. It goes up for public auction and the people can bid on it.
Yeah, but like that's just one car of which we know that the owner has, passed away, didn't leave any children, grandchildren, whatever. So, there is no family or immediate relatives where,
that's
who
how-
we can contact to like help us figure out what to do with it.
But that's how our culture has strayed away from our old small tribes and small towns, right? So we very much could restore paganism in whole and still have technology, live off the grid, not attached to a power system, not because the paganism comes with the right of being self-sustaining also, right? So you grow your own medicines, you make your own antiseptics, you know what I mean? You generate your own power, be it through solar, wind, hydroelectric, if you got a little stream on your property, whatever the case may be, right? But you can have the internet, you can have a Starlink hookup, you can have all of that and still live a traditional lifestyle, because living a traditional pagan lifestyle doesn't mean leaving everything behind, right? The modern cowboy, they still brand their cattle, right? I mean, look at the cattle brands. They are combinations of runes, dude. Almost all cattle brands break down to a basic rune combination.
Their cattle, the amount of cattle that they have, the health of said cattle is still
directly
their worth
to their wealth. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Now imagine you got 1,000 head of cattle in the United States. They go up for sale. That's $2 million.
Easy.
$2,000 a cow, dude. That's $2 million. Pow, for 1,000 cows. You got dude, 1,000 acres. You can have a lot of beef. That's all I'm saying.
Or like, just imagine if you have a strong, healthy breeding bull. Dude,
right now, if you have a small here's where these think about this with a small town also, right? This is why small towns work better too. Their local grocers buy from their local farmers. The local restaurants buy from the local farmers. They keep a lot of the commerce inside the town. They have little local farmers markets, little flea markets where people sell their crafts and their goods that they make. It's much more traditional, right? Strip the religion away and just ignore the religion of the people and look at a small farming town. Those people are living almost identical.
I mean, I live in a smaller town now. I went back to my mother's birthplace because I got fucking sick of living in a city, like a larger city. It'll always be my hometown. 100%. I will always love my hometown. I just, live, love. I didn't like living there anymore. I will always love it. And I wasn't really laughing either. So that's why I decided to, I wanted to go back to a smaller town also because, I have 2 kids, big city in, the year of some Lord 2024. The big city just isn't the right place to raise kids anymore unless you have good money and are able to live in a decent neighborhood. Unfortunately, I am not in that position.
Now see, Stein, this is what I don't get, right? Like in Europe, in the Netherlands, I was looking at property over there. Dude, you guys are getting fucked, bro. Like with the money you make, if you save, this is no joke, right? Like you could own 10 acres in America right now for a $999 down payment and payments of about $600, $700 a month, right?
Yeah, but also the thing is, here in the Netherlands, we are a smaller country, we don't have that much
Land.
We don't have that
Yes.
much free lands that we can buy and grow on or build on or whatever. So the little bit of land that we do have is of course going to be much pricier. There's really no comparison. I mean, when I was with the wifey Firefay, we did make some comparisons, and my hometown of Leiden fits at least 4 times in the city that she lives in, and she doesn't live in a major city.
Yeah.
The smallest little town you'll ever be in, but still, my hometown of Leiden, which isn't a small town, by the way. It's not the biggest, but it's a decent sized city. 4 times. The whole of the Netherlands pretty much fits in the state of Colorado.
The town that I grew up in, I'm currently back in right now, and I'm trying to get back north of here, right? But I'm waiting for the wife to finish school and all that good stuff. So this town, I want to say 30 years ago, had a population of about 37,000, right?
Yeah.
But it's very large land-wise. So it's not 37,000 people living right on top of each other, right? Now, it's something like 210, right? And all of the little gaps where there was cow pastures or orange groves or anything like that is just gotten filled in with apartmts and storage units and grocery store parking lots, and just it's becoming a boring.
My wife Firefay, she has the same issues. She, as she says, she lives out in the boonies. She had no neighbors really. You'd have to walk miles and miles to get to the first sign of civilization.
Mm-hmm.
They've started building a lot where she lives, and it's mostly, which in America, from what I understand, is really an issue for the people living in the smaller, more inland states. A lot of people from California and Texas now have moved in because
Cheap land,
cheaper, the air is cleaner, it isn't overcrowded as it is in those states. They're making it so.
That's an instant backlash thing, dude. I hate it. And here, I'm telling you, you used to not hear cop cars or sirens or anything. Now it seems like every single night there is 2 police helicopters circling just north of here, right? You have the Air Force and Space Base that's just north of here, Cape Canaveral, right? We see all the rocket launches, hear all that rumbling and shit as it's going down. And dude, there has been a lot of weird activity with jets and shit lately. Let me just say that. Like helicopters and jets that normally do not fly around this place are flying around this place. So I don't know if it has anything to do with those Russian subs just off the coast and all of that good stuff, but I want to get out of Florida while they're getting still good.
I mean, I totally get that. Plus, you don't do the heat well.
Bro. I'm inside for this podcast, not outside, because at this time of day, I couldn't be out there.
No,
with the heat index, it's triple digits with the heat index. So 37 degrees Celsius plus.
Okay, that's a lot. Yeah, that it's better to stay inside. That's what you get when you have the Northern European blood. It's too thick for the heat.
My son and my wife's son are both they work outside, both doing pools for different pool companies, right? Because everybody in Florida just has to have a fucking swimming pool. So they're doing concrete work and forming for the pools and stuff. And one of them, yeah, dude, one of them. I was watching the news and there was like multiple people having heat strokes, and like one of them called me like a couple days later and he's like, yo, I don't feel good. I'm like, get out of the sun now. Get into an air conditioner, slowly drink water. Don't try to slam it down. And he wound up being pretty sick, dude. It messed him up. He had a full on heat stroke.
Fuck, man. Like I've seen like footage from India where the roads are literally melting and car tires are melting to the roads. Because especially in India, like as big as a country as it is, and the way it's, you know, like to the equator. Good dog. Like if you go really land inwards in India, it'll get to 50, 60 Celsius, which, like for reference, 100 Celsius is the boiling point of water.
Yeah.
So you're halfway there.
Yeah. Well, that's in, and well, look, I don't know what the conversion is, but I know like 100 degrees, we break that frequently. Our heat index is almost always over 100, right?
Yeah.
We have like, it's in our humidity level is what does that, because we're on a peninsula. So it's constant humidity from every angle.
Yeah. I mean, the Netherlands, like we're bordering at sea for I want to say like a good 60, 70%. Like the whole like north and west coast of the Netherlands borders at sea. So like we have that sea heat, that sea humidity. So when it gets hot here, it also gets very or tends to be very humid indeed. And we have a lot of rain, of course, which only adds to the humidity. So
you guys got the swamp like we do too.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, the Netherlands used to be marshlands, literally. Just, you know, we dried it up.
The neighborhood that I live in, technically right now, part of it is about 6 feet below sea level. Part of it is about 9 feet above. And then the neighborhood's about 3 miles by about 2.5 miles wide. So
below sea level, like you're talking to a Dutchie, like most of our country is below sea level. Like if the dikes were to break, even here where I am now, I'd be extra fucked actually, because I'm closer to the sea than where I was in Leiden. So yeah, you know, if the dikes break, it's been nice. Luckily I can swim. So
see, a lot of Americans don't have a proper respect for seeing a body of water higher than people living right down below it and thinking if that breaks. But I have been on the edge of Lake Okeechobee, and I'm telling you, when I was a mechanic, my boss bought a trailer park over there, right? And it's literally like 25 or 26 trailers right on the side of Lake Okeechobee. And we had to go over there and like fix the whole trailer park back up. And because I mean, it was like getting really run down. And we fixed it up. He flipped it, whatever. But the lake is right there on the other side of this 70 or 80 foot wall of dirt, right? Like you climb up to the wall of dirt, you're looking level at Lake Okeechobee. You're looking down 70 feet at hundreds of people living their lives, right? If that mound of dirt just gets a little uneasy someday, dude, it's catastrophic.
That's everyday life in the Netherlands. Like our like the ocean and the lakes and whatever, they are our greatest ally and our greatest foe. You know, we're a seafaring country. We're a sea trading country. That's, you know, as was also pointed out in the article that you sent about the differences between Germany and the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. In the Netherlands, like pretty much all of us speak English. Not everyone speaks it as well. I have heard some. That's fucking English, but that's
You hear in Florida too.
we're a nation of trades because we're like on the ocean, and Germany is like right next to us, and France is like, well, 2 countries down. You have to go through Belgium first, but that's Belgium. They fucked up. They don't even know what language they want to speak. They speak both Flemish, which is kind of Dutch, and like a bastardized French. So they can't make up their minds. I can't even. Whatever. It's a whole thing. We always bash the Germans. We always bash the Belgians. They do it with us as well. But
What's the difference between the Dutch and the Deutsch?
There's a big difference, actually. One are from the Netherlands, the other are German.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's the difference between the Dutch and the Deutsch. Huge differences culturally.
Yeah, but we're a nation of trade. We always have been. Just look at the Golden Age. Look at the Dutch East India Company.
Now, those cultural differences, I can reflect to where they come from. Think about this. Germany is more spread out, a lot more mountainous, right? Littler towns built into little valleys. They can't get much bigger than they are just because of
large forests and woodlands. Right. And
the Netherlands is land packed on top of land. So you guys have much more of a liberal culture like New York City would, as opposed to some town in Arkansas or rural Florida.
In the economic triangle of the Randstad, we do. If you go further north, like for example to Frisia, where my kids live, you'll see immigrants every now and then, but it's mostly Frisians. Like the Frisian people are very nationalist. It's if you're not from Frisia, you really don't have any business living in Frisia. I always tend to compare it for our American listeners, our American fans, American pagans. I always kind of relate this to Texas. Like, yes, it's part of the United States,
but Texans are Texans.
Exactly. And with Frisia, same thing, but they even, they take it a bit further. They have their own flag. They won't wave the Dutch flag. They'll wave the Frisian flag. They have their own language, Frisian, which, as we mentioned, is really close to Old English. Especially if you're from the economic triangle, they don't want you there because you're just there to make money, and they're there to just live peacefully and farm and chop wood, and you could say that Frisians, the true Frisian living, is closest to true pagan living, because
now
you still have the communities there, you still have the families there that pretty much run entire freaking towns.
200 years ago, people would have been living much more similar to the older traditions, and there would have been so much less difference between the German and the Netherlands cultures, right?
Yeah.
It would have been like Bavarian too. You know what I mean? That whole area. It would have been much more homogenous almost. I don't know how to word it.
I like this one. The Dutch are like swamp Germans, right?
The Americans
in a way we are.
We have New Orleans and Florida. We're the swamp people of America.
I've never heard the Dutch being called that, swamp Germans, but I guess it's fairly accurate. We are a Germanic people. This used to be all swamp and marshlands, which is why the Romans absolutely fucking hated it.
You're pinned in by the Rhine River.
Yeah.
And I mean, that river flows, so it's like a decent natural border. It's been respected by many different places and cultures throughout time.
It is, and it flows into so many other rivers into Europe. And so, yeah, it's always been a great natural border. So the Romans, seeing the swamps and the marshlands, they came up all the way to the Rhine River and were like, you know what? This is good. This is a good border. We fucking hate this country. It's cold. It's wet. We are wearing we're wearing the absolute wrong clothes for this. Because wearing pants for the Romans, that's a no-go. You don't wear pants.
Now,
what are you, barbarian? Barbarians wear pants.
Let's say you moved to Germany, but like out and not into like a city. You moved to like just be a farmer, right? You just bought yourself a piece of land, built a little house, and had your little homestead going on.
In Germany, that would still be fairly easy. My uncle from mother's side of family has lived in Germany for many years, mostly in smaller towns, and he was always part of of hunting groups. So he used to go boar hunting a lot.
Black Forest.
He always close to there. Yeah, I mean the Black Forest is fast though, so. But he always had fresh boar meat in his freezer, or like he was in the process of skinning one or whatever. So, and that's still so easy to do in Germany.
The central eastern United States, it's so easy to find like the same animals and live the same lifestyle, because you got the boars, the bears, the wolves. It's all the same wildlife, except for we got beavers. Those little bitches are, pardon my French, beavers are assholes, dude. you don't want to encounter one of those things in the wild. They're cute from a very far distance.
We have them too. They used to be a fucking nuisance indeed, because they would gnaw like through our dikes and whatever, and like flood entire fucking cities and lands just because a beaver was like, snack.
Horrible little shit. All of a sudden your stream dries up. Now you got to walk up the stream, find the beaver dam, break it apart. Oh yeah, big pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Needless to say, if we tried to like literally reunite, we're not that far. Like the culture is not that far lost to us that it's completely out of touch. You know what I mean?
No, there are still very clear remnants in some places. Like I mentioned with Frisia, the spirit is still very much there and respected, like known and respected. And like if you go to Frisia, you know what you're in for. If you're an outsider,
funeral pyre traditions, just check that one out. They're still done if Google funeral pyre traditions, they're done everywhere on earth. You can find, there's a couple really good articles on it. Where they break down that it's done in like India, it's done in Germany, it was done in the Netherlands, it was done in Scandinavia, and they break down the different traditions in each one.
Let's see. Ireland in the Bronze Age, Poland has done it a lot.
Here's a better way to find the one or closer reference: Germanic funeral pyre tradition.
Traditionally, pyres are used for the cremation of the dead in the Hindu and Sikh religions. Funeral pyres were also used in Germanic and Roman culture.
That article right there is one that I referenced in the Substack article that I wrote. That is a fairly well written one, but it details some of the Germanic and some of the Sikh, and it's done all over Indo-Europe, Asia, Europe. I mean, every one of those cultures has funeral pyres above ground, and then they mount over their dead.
Found the Creston, Colorado part of the Crestone End of Life project, obtained legal permissions to perform quote unquote open air cremations.
A funeral pyre.
Yeah, but it's considered taboo now.
To whom?
The Western world.
It's still done all over the damn place. That's what I mean. To whom? Why, if we're a country where we have the freedom of religion, why is it against the law to have a burial that fits your tradition? I don't understand. They're forcing people into hell that are pagan. United States soldiers, dude, out of the millions of soldiers we have, many of them identify as pagan or Odinist, right?
Yeah.
They are sending them to hell when they force them into the grave. That's horrible.
Yeah, it is. And like I've always said that, you know, when I go, just light me up.
And that's the thing. Could you imagine that going through the court system? I had to steal my husband's body from the coroner afterwards so I could bring it home, wrap it, prepare it, have a funeral pyre, you know what I mean? And then build a mound over it. Then, like, imagine that in court. Like,
but we do still, for example, do it with large quantities of livestock, especially those infected with disease. Then we'll do pyres, but
this wasn't just like something where they like just cremated the person. This was a celebration that was like an entire day event, because the body burns for hours and hours and hours. They don't want remnants there, right? So it's a huge pile of ash that gets buried over.
There are practical reasons as to why it's not allowed. For example,
I abhor them all.
It wouldn't burn hot enough.
Bullcrap.
There we go again.
Bullcrap.
Which makes me think, then how did they
do it for thousands of years? Exactly. Yeah. No, bullcrap. We melt metal, right? We melted metal thousands of years ago. We can make a fire. Okay. All you got to do is set bricks up in a way where it channels the wind in, no matter which way it comes from, and it'll create a draft in there. You set all of the, kind of, right? Then you set all of your wood in there. You can even make a metal rack in the middle of it, or a stone column in the middle of it where the body goes, and the wood just burns for hours and hours and hours and hours around it until there is nothing there. And then
there is a lot of good wood that, burns very,
very hot. Wood that has any sap in it will burn much hotter than the dry wood.
Oh shit, that will burn. Yeah, for sure.
Right. So like this is their reasons for saying it can't be done or shouldn't is abhorrent, dude.
What I can see here, sap. In Poland, for example, from analyzing three necropolises in Kokoto, and two other Polish cities, which I am not going to pronounce the names of because I'll absolutely butcher it. The pyres consisted of primarily Scots pine, birch, and oak trees. Mm-hmm. So trees with a lot of sap, which will burn like a motherfucker.
Yeah, those pines will burn hot, man. They will put a body down. Now there will be bones left over, but there's bones left over after.
Everything: the trunk, the branches, the twigs, even pine cones.
Mm-hmm.
So even that, like in respect to nature, like we're not just using logs, we're using everything.
Yes, and then it's immediately buried over with a mound of earth. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not like it's left exposed for animals or, you know what I mean? Anything like that. And this is done in I find it much more abhorrent that they would send people to hell than let them have their traditional burials. Right? I mean, that's just appalling to me. They say
my parents, they were raised religiously. They fell off the faith. My dad is still somewhat religious. Like he'll have his moments.
Mine is the same.
But with the unfortunate early loss of my my brother, like now that we're talking about it, they like he is buried in a wall. Like he is put in a
crypt?
wall. Sort of like it's
we have cemeteries down here that are like that, where there's like a wall that there's like 8 different names on it, and then right next to it there's another row of.
It's more private.
Okay.
A little more private than that. Like yeah, it's two people, like one on the bottom, one on top, but
an above ground tomb though.
Yeah, because my parents, and I I totally get that. It's their youngest son, the middle child. He was 27 years old. God damn it! They couldn't bear the thought of seeing their child, my brother, fighting back tears. God damn it! I miss him. Being lowered into the ground. That's a fucked up sight to see. Doesn't matter who it is. That's why they chose to put him in a tomb, in a wall, a above ground burial, if you will.
He's in a cairn. He's in a stone cairn. It's just a different shape.
Yeah, so it is still a thing. And even for my parents, with my dad being, or like still having the most religious feeling of the two of us, like my mother, like just she's not religious in the slightest. She's like interested in what I do and what we believe and all that, but she doesn't have a religious bone in her body. She's like her mother. No, that's not true. Grandma was very religious, but like even she is like, like in the ground. No, I can't bear the sight of it, and
I get it.
It's not a pretty sight, seeing someone being lowered into the ground, like literally in the dirt with, the fucking all the nasty critters that are there. No. Then throw me onto a pyre, throw me into an oven if that's the closest thing we're gonna get.
I can't cope with that. I can't. And I mean, my wife hates that I talk about it, but I have chronic pancreatitis. I have a limited amount of time, right?
Yeah.
I got 10 years or less to figure this shit out. You know what I mean? And then petition whatever state that I want to have a proper burial in, or a proper cremation and pyre service in. So, I mean, this is a concern for me. But I think the more I look at the issue, it's like there's been legal tape built to literally block our culture, right? To self-sustain. They've made it illegal to self-sustain in so many ways, Stein. They've made it illegal for our funerary practices, right?
Like as I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, when you were still trying to come in, just over the last few years, look at what they've done to the Dutch and Canadian farmers. Look at how they've been treated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not a good time to be a farmer, but
because of my state laws, I'm forced to go buy this from a government-approved medicine salesperson, right? When I could very easily just grab a handful of the seeds that are always in it and toss them out in my yard, but then that's a felony. How does that, you know what I mean? The right to self-sustain has been stripped away from us, right? We can't make our own antiseptics anymore. They banned moonshine.
Behind a lot of red tape, rubber stamps, signatures, a lot of white paper, black ink.
They didn't ban moonshine because people were going to get drunk off of it. They banned moonshine because people could make fuel at home for their automobiles.
Yeah.
They could take their household grocery garbage and generate fuel out of it. And they were like, oh no, like this is not.
There is
On clippings.
there is this guy on TikTok. TikTok is really it's really a double-edged platform. Who has managed to find a way to convert plastic like back to usable oil. He has created his own device for that, and the oil is usable. But like he's kind of limited to being on a platform like TikTok to show it and hope that he can garner support from his followers, his subscribers, people that think it's a good idea and have the means or have access to the means to make it a thing. Why? Like that should be encouraged more, right?
You would think
Like-
people, all right. And here's the thing, we've been convinced that living in bigger and bigger cities is better because of our tribal instinct. We always knew that the tribe was safe, right? The community was the safest way to live. You didn't have to farm everything yourself. You could farm your pigs, your chickens, and a little bit of corn, and then you could buy your potatoes, tomatoes, lettuce, tomatoes, and cabbage from the other guy, right? And trade them.
Which is
right?
also how you keep the grounds, healthy and fertile. Like I'll grow this, and you grow that, and I'll have this, and you have that, and together we take care of each other. You have what I
you're
need, I have
eating-
what you need.
And you're eating produce from your local area, so you have a better immunity to pathogens and plants and stuff in your local area, right?
Yeah.
If you're eating local produce, right? And I mean, all of that benefits the health of the people that live there. Look at small towns. They have a lot less psychologists. They have a lot less doctors, right? And it's because the people are a lot more healthy, and they are a lot more mentally healthy, right? And there's reasons for that. You got out of a big city for what reasons? We're driving back to the culture, is what I'm saying. The pendulum's swinging, right? And we've kind of strayed away from it, but I think we're at a point now where a lot more people are steering back to it. But we have to correct some of the things that have happened in order to actually be able to do that. We've got to try to piece back together the history, the timeline, the chains of events, figure out, what customs should be allowed. You know what I mean? Like all of these different countries claim to have free citizens who can practice religion freely, yet have laws banning almost their entire religion.
Like, yeah, you can practice it freely, but like
just don't get caught.
Well, just the worshiping part is free. Everything else, like the customs and whatever, is like, oh,
yeah, but to we're talking about victim, right? Anything where it's on your own property, there is no victim, right? I'm self-sustaining to take care of myself and for my family, not to mass produce a product to sell to the outside world, right? There's a difference there.
Where you're going wrong, because if you're just, doing it to sustain yourself and your family, that means.
And trade with your neighbors, obviously. You know what I mean?
But like, if you keep it locally, that means that the government is not getting their cut. I mean, come on, man. All those politicians have to live as well. Like, how can they afford their $10 million mansion if you're just self-sustaining?
And I pay taxes, why don't I get that same right? You know what I mean?
Born in the wrong caste.
The Christians get their funerals. The Christians get their religions, their churches. They never got snatched away. Their ancestors didn't get burned as witches. I'm just saying, like, white privilege only exists if you're an evangelical Christian and wealthy.
Yeah, no, that's very true, and but that's why you started the fundraiser, right?
Absolutely, which you see scrolling at the bottom, right?
And I, of course, have the tab open, ready to share. So far, only one donation, which is me. Gotta give the right example.
It's still a new thing, and we got to get there. Listen, at $100, we have to take steps to make it a legal. We have to establish a legal foothold in order to be able to do this. So we have to 501c3 or declare a religion, right? So I'm going to make Odinism a declared religion, and we will be a branch of it, right? The Grove of Odin. Tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans, Grove of Odin, right? Between me, you, and Raven, we are all ordained. We have a CEO, CFO, and COO. So that's technically all we need. We have our bylaws. We have our tribal meetings, our gatherings. I mean, everything else is already there. We just have to put those couple steps together.
And I have also mentioned previously that every bit of Greyhorn Pagans merchandise that we sell, every penny of it will be going to the fundraiser. That goes just for the Greyhorn Pagans merchandise, though, because of course Firefae has her own merchandise as well. But all those proceedings will still be going to Firefae because she needs it too. She needs it too because she wants to do more with us. Well, she wants to be more active on the podcast as well because she has really started to like this, and she's doing well. She's growing.
Got to get your toes wet before you jump in.
Yeah, of course. So this is the website for the main website for our merchandise, bonfire.com/store/tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans. It's a whole fucking thing. Best thing you can do is just to go to our website. Greyhorn Pagans.
Show the people, Stein. Show the people.
Just this, it's under the blog header, blog merchandise. You can find everything there. This is just one example of the t-shirts that we sell. It is great quality. The logo made by Ethelwolf, something that I'm still very proud of, and I am still so very thankful that he made our logo. He is an amazing pagan artist. Like I paste our logo on fucking everything, like wherever I can, just because it's so well made and so awesome, and because I'm so proud of the tribe that we have all created, that we have all made. So yeah, and of course the fundraiser can be found on our website as well. It's right under the home tab with
all of our writing, all of our cultural content, our creation can be accessed here. Stein's book, our Substack, everything can be accessed from greyhornpagans.com.
Oculus Veritatum, his Etsy shop, and apparently, he has a Twitch as well. Even Light Elf, our great friend from up north. I have his Odyssey and Substack on there. Druid Fox, Jin the Ninja, one of the guys that we associate ourselves with, another great guy. Does a lot of Eastern esotericism. Sarcastic Warlock, the rumblings of a near madman. The occultist round table from Wishes for a Shaman. Everything is on there. Everything can be found on our website, www.greyhornpagans.com. So, yeah, need we say more? We've been going on for close to 2.5 hours. This is
2:27. Yeah, we have to bring the culture back, baby steps, dude. We got to do it pieces at a time. We do it pieces at a time, but we can't bring it back without making moves. So this is where we sit. We have to change we have to petition to change the laws in an area, right? And that's not going to be easy. It's not going to be cheap. We want to get 5 acres of land for the first grove. I mean, it has to be at least 5 acres. You have to have room for several burial mounds. There has to be old growth oak trees there. That's just a thing, right? So it's got to be a traditional sacred grove. I could handle if there was like birches or if it was a good old growth piece of land we could make the sacred grove there. But then we got to petition that state. So
baby steps, bro. Baby steps. You know, educate, recreate, and like that goes for ourselves. That goes for the the outside world. That's why I like always encourage everyone within our tribe who has their own thing, whether that be just a blog or a Twitch or Substack or whatever, use our tribe as the platform to grow. That's all. I mean, like that's what a good teacher does, right? That's what a good leader does. Like, he'll educate his students, he'll lead his people to to the heights that they can start for themselves, that they can do their own thing. The student becoming the master, the
Indo-European face of all type. We've helped people reconnect with their roots that were Hmong. We've helped people that were of all different types, but we have Baltic pagans in the tribe that we discuss all kinds of things with. We've had on the podcast before. We've both done a podcast with one of our Baltic pagans. So that is the thing. We're not trying to cram our beliefs down somebody else's throat. We're trying to help them connect with their ancestral beliefs, their ancestral faith, the traditions of their forefathers.
I mean, it's literally what it says in the group info, in the group bio. We are the tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans, a place open for pagans, witches, and seekers of all paths. It doesn't matter if you want to connect to your ancestral traditions, you want to learn more, you want to discuss with people, you want even if it's just like you found some new information and you need a place to like put it somewhere. You just want to like spout whatever the fuck you have learned this time. Come to the tribe. We are more than interested, whether it be north, south, west, east. Doesn't matter. I mean, like shortly coming on the podcast, I have someone who I have to log in, but it doesn't matter. Who is more in tune with the African traditions, like African healing traditions, which will be at first, by the way, on the podcast. I haven't done that before, which I am very interested in.
Hey, the Vandals and some of the Germanic tribes actually came from Northern Africa too.
Oh, no way.
Yes way.
Wait.
Look at the expanse of old Germania and the kingdom of what was Germania, and it goes down into Northern Africa too.
I mean, that's why in some parts of Northern Africa you'll still find people with blonde hair, blue eyes.
They have migrated primarily to South Africa now and are the Boers.
Yeah.
Interesting there. That's a whole nother podcast in itself.
the migration of European people around the world.
And on a closing note, because I know we both got to get going here. Think about this, dude. If what these big governments and what the WEF and all of these organizations say is true, and they wanted to promote a friendlier to the earth lifestyle, they would be having people go live in smaller towns, and most of their commerce is done amongst them. They'd be trading amongst each other. The carbon footprint is 1,000 times lower, less imported garbage. Okay. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. The fact that they want to stack people in these giant cities and they're calling that a friendlier carbon footprint. If their agenda was pure, people would be living in smaller, homogenous tribal towns where they believe the same thing as everybody and they agree with everybody on on how the town should work, right? So I've
seen well, you can't even call them apartment buildings anymore, but just blocks of where like up to 30,000 people live in one giant freaking building. in of course in China. So you never even have to go outside because everything is
in that building.
building.
Your doctors, your food, your everything is right there in that building. Now,
Entertainment, shopping, whatever. You never even have to go outside. Like outside, sun, fresh air. What the fuck is that?
bring up one last thing before we close. The town of Cumberland Gap, Tennessee. The town of Cumberland Gap.
Oh, if I can spell. Let's see. Let's go to their official website. If it.
See if you can find an aerial photograph of this town or pictures from inside of it. There's still an old mill there with a water wheel. A little stream runs through it. It's right on the edge of Daniel Boone State Park, right? Now, this town can't get any bigger because it is literally stuck in a valley, right? The only way they could build is up, but nobody there wants to. And it's where 3 states meet: Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia.
Let's see. I did find it. I just want to see if I can.
This is the polar opposite of the thing you were just talking about with the building with 30,000 people and all that. Like,
okay, this. No, that's not a good picture. Why is it so hard to find a decent picture?
it's a gorgeous town. I know Google Maps, you can even just look at it on Google Maps and zoom down in on it.
Yeah.
And see like it, just the layout of it and like what they have there. They've got their own little mechanics, their own little shops, their own little everything right there. Technically, you don't need to go far to get anything you want. There's no major grocery store there. And their dollar store was just for sale. It's a 2-story building that sits right on the state line, right? And the whole dollar store was for sale for $100,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you got the store, top level, bottom level, and it was a big building.
Let's see. I found what I am looking for here. Shit. Damn, this is pretty. All these woods, that's amazing.
Now, little
mountains.
town. We went up there for Halloween one year, dude. The whole town participates in Halloween, right? And that's
So
it.
it's
That little thing that you just saw there in the aerial photograph up in the left corner, that's the whole thing, right? And there's a road that leads in. There's 3 different roads that lead off. Each one goes into a different state. One goes Kentucky, one goes Virginia.
yeah,
One goes Tennessee.
this having some technical difficulties.
We're glitching, but we'll get back.
Mountainous area. Yeah. This is, yeah, we will. Oh, yeah. Road
No, that's
trail.
That's the whole town.
This is
that historic forge. A lot of the weapons in the war, the final war, when we emancipated from England, were made in there. The iron was smoldered in that forge. This little town was so hidden away that they never knew it was there. They manufactured weapons for the war. That's how it got built up. And then once the war was over, they just had a friendly little town there. Still had the water wheel, still had the forge, still had all the stuff there.
This looks like a beautiful small town.
Dude, it's my favorite place in America. If I go on vacation and I just want to get away from everybody, I go there. There's a little coffee shop in that town where you could leave the inn. See that building right there that you just had?
You mean
Yeah,
this
that
coffee shop?
right there. That coffee shop right there. That inn is walking distance from that coffee shop. You walk from the inn right to the coffee shop. They make bacon, egg, and cheese bagels and breakfast foods, and you can get whatever you want to eat there. It's like a little diner too, and it functions right out of what looks like a house, dude. It is the homiest little feeling place ever.
And it looks absolutely stunning, and it's right on the Kentucky-Virginia border. This is all America. This house
as long as you're genuinely just a decent person, They welcome you in, but they don't like tourists that are pricks. You know what I mean? And can you blame them? Right? There's the water wheel. Dude, that little stream right there runs right down behind the inn, right through the middle of the town. You walk beside it, go into that little coffee shop. It is the most gorgeous place ever, dude.
This looks amazing. Oh, this is a better overview shot.
That's a better angle of the old water wheel.
Yeah.
But that all of the infrastructure in that town was set up to make iron. They were forging iron right up the mountain in that big forge. You can still go up there and find the byproducts of it. All right. The only way to get into that town is through two little gaps in one of the mountains, right? There's two little gaps that come through, and both of the gaps have a little road that goes under one bridge that looks like that. So no matter which way you come into it on either one of those little roads, you're coming under one of those railroad style bridges. Those things are so cool, man.
That looks like a beautiful old town. And many of the houses that I saw in the pictures actually remind me of like German architecture, which you'll find in the smaller German towns.
You know what's really funny? There's houses there that have literal swastikas on the front window.
Oh.
Like the stained glass above the doors and stuff. Now they've a lot of them have changed them, but some people just painted it plain, so it's all one color, but you could still see the design of it where it was different colors because it was stained glass.
So I'm quite on the nose with Germany. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. But
yeah, nice little Dutch German village, dude. And that's basically that's literally who founded it. It was a couple Dutches and a couple Germans.
Yeah, so of course they're going to be swastikas there. Why doesn't that surprise me?
Yeah.
But it's good to know that those little towns, those small towns.
If it makes anybody feel better, those swastikas predated the Third Reich. They were there before Hitler said the swastika was a Nazi symbol.
Dude, like that should be common knowledge by now.
In the town, they know that. They know that those things are like hundreds of years old, right? I mean, some of those houses were built in some of those buildings literally predate the founding of America, bro. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, like, how many times have we gone into the symbols and symbolism now? Like, I'm doing this is more like on the occult side, of course, but I'm doing a show next Tuesday, the 2nd, with Nick and my Patriot from Occult Rejects, like about pro wrestling and the occult imagery in there and the symbolism and all, because like it's so incredibly fascinating. Symbols is one of the first things that
at this
I noticed.
The stone where the 3 states come together is a pyramid.
I believe I saw that. Yeah. Something about the pyramids.
Yep. Just another little piece of weirdness. But anyways, you can go there for like Halloween and the whole town celebrates, dude. Your kids go door to door, collect their candy. There's like a showing of like Charlie Brown's Halloween or whatever, like it's kind of cool. They had, I mean that like literally like the town sets up and they put a big projector up and the whole town comes together and watches a Halloween movie. They had like a little candy handout right there. It was awesome, dude. Like totally awesome.
I bet. But I mean, that's the thing with the smaller towns. Like you still have those tight knit communities there.
Yes.
Like I'm seeing it here in this town where I live now as well. Like the communities are much more tightly knit, which is beautiful. It's beautiful to see.
But it works that way because everybody in the community wants the same thing, and then the mayor does it. You know what I mean? So like you don't have people going, hey, I feel wronged by everything that's done because it leans this way. It's like the whole small town agrees. You know what I mean? They may not agree on the national things, but they all agree on what's happening locally, and that's what matters.
And eventually that will spread nationally.
Upstream. Yes.
Yeah. It starts locally. It starts in your own household, in your own town, in your own neighborhood.
My thing is, I think we can get one of these old ghost towns up in the Smoky Mountains somewhere, because Virginia has a bunch of old mining ghost towns in it. Tennessee's got a bunch of old mining ghost towns in it. Kentucky's got a bunch of old mining ghost towns in it. We can find one of them that's just sitting there and obtain it. And we've already got the houses, the buildings, the wood for, even if we were just tearing some of them down and rebuilding using the wood from them, right? We've already got the lumber there, right? Start small farms right there. You've instantly got a village. The roads are set up, the infrastructure's there, the buildings are there.
That would be an idea. Just start with abandoned buildings, abandoned villages. Like, they're abandoned for a reason. Nobody really cares about them, otherwise they wouldn't be abandoned.
The mine went down. They were supporting a mine. The mine went down. Now it's abandoned. Right? Now we have those all over America. They exist from Colorado to Arizona to California, the old gold mining towns. We've got gold mining towns in the Smoky Mountains. We've got them up further in the Appalachians, right? And they just stopped. The coal mining ones too. I mean, they stopped mining a lot of coal in some of them, or they ran out of the vein, and then that's it. The whole mine closes down. The little town that got all their money from it closes down around it. You've got a ghost town just sitting there, and they're everywhere. Look up ghost towns in America when you get bored one day. We'll do that as a different podcast.
Sure.
But yeah, let me go get some dinner, brother. I love you. Yeah. It was a good one.
For sure.
Yeah, we already shared the website, all of our merch. We tagged ourselves. We
did the whole, plugging, except for, if you've been watching, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, leave something nice in the comments, share this with everyone. Doesn't matter if they're interested, if they're not interested, they will be interested. Check out our website, www.greyhornpagans.com. Buy Josh's book, go subscribe to his Substack, buy my book, go subscribe to my Substack. Buy yourself some merchandise. All proceedings will go to establishing our sacred grove. If you don't want merch but want to help with our sacred grove, go to www.givesendgo.com/pagan sacred grove. All the links are in the description box down below, or in the ticker below this screen if you're old-fashioned and think you can do it yourself. So with all that said, that was I think the fastest plug I've ever done.
Keep your ancestral traditions alive. Thousands of generations of your ancestors came before you. They kept those traditions alive. Keep the traditions alive. Do not let your ancestors' traditions fall to the wayside.
That's a great way to end it. I thank you all. Josh, bro, thank you very much. Enjoy dinner. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my night, and we will see you all next time.